They say that when you start receiving something for free, you'll never pay for it again, even when you have to in order to obtain it. And I'll tell you what, folks, I've been so spoiled by Spotify and listening to new albums as soon as they come out on Spotify for the mere $10 a month it costs me for the membership, that even when the new Clutch came out and it wasn't uploaded to Spotify, I said, fuck this, and listened to it on YouTube instead. And there was a time where Clutch would get me to open up the wallet. Oh, yes, I would go on iTunes, or I would even go right to prorock.com and order the CD, get myself a complimentary T-shirt, and the whole 9 yards. But Spotify has absolutely ruined me. Second time in a row, too, because they didn't upload the new Five Finger Death Punch album, and I ended up having to listen to all of that on YouTube as well. So that's where we are in life, folks. I apologize to the band Clutch. I will always continue to support your live endeavors, but I'm not buying your album. No. Put it on Spotify. Get a move on. Chop, chop. This cheap-ass rant has been brought to you by the good fellows here at the Metal Hammer of Doom, and I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm cheap, Mr. Mark Radulich. I, of course, am joined by my co-host, the man who has no idea what I'm talking about because he's still willing to spend his hard-earned money on used CDs, the physical ones, that is. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of the original Hammer of Doom news report, and soon-to-be teacher. He's mired in midterms, but that's all right. He's taken time out to review my favorite band and the new album, Clutch, by Psychic Warfare by Clutch. Here he is, folks, the Metal Coop, Mr. Robert Cooper. How do you do, sir?
Oh, it was a day. It's funny. I'm done with midterms now. I taught my lesson, even though I changed my lesson as soon as I walked into the school, so that was a problem. And I logged my keys in my car in my first class, so it canceled my second class because my teacher wasn't going to leave me at an apartment complex by myself. So that was hilarious. And
were you like Robert? Were you like Robert Downey Jr. at the end of Iron Man? He was looking down at your note cards and threw them over your shoulder and just said, "You know what, kids? I am Iron Man."
It was a very similar sort of thing because my teacher was like, hey, here's this lesson plan I'm doing. It's really cool. If you want to do it, go ahead. And I was like, that's really cool. It sounds really fun and inventive. And I thought about doing it. And then when I started thinking logistics, I'm like, there's no way I could do it. So I made another lesson plan. Then when I walked through the door and mentioned it to my teacher, she's like, no, we can still do it. So I was like, all right, back to plan one. But yeah, that's plenty of fun. Speaking of cheap things, managed to get cheap Japanese toys that's usually $80 for $30. Even though I like buying things really cheap, I was looking at a $30 Japanese CD of the band Bradio, which I've already sent you guys because gosh darn it, nothing makes me happier than like Japanese funk rock.
Well, speaking of Japanese funk rock, I wanna send a message out to all of our listeners. The last time Robert and I got together, we had a few gentlemen call into the show and essentially do the equivalent of yelling "Baba Booey, Howard Stern's boobs" or something, into the microphone. Only they, I think one guy asked us if we blew each other, the other guy asked if we were gay, but did it like in a redneck voice because I guess only rednecks say homosexual. But no,
don't you remember the one guy called us homosexuals in the bad redneck voice. And
right.
The guy who did the regular version asked if we were pedophiles.
Right.
So
if you're doing
how could you
control list tonight, can't come up with something a little bit better than Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Okay? That's all I'm asking. I don't care. I have no control over being trolled. I don't have somebody here. And I wanted to say this. I'm dying to talk about this since our last show. I don't know if you watched the John Oliver show on HBO, but if you've ever watched it, the show, it's a half an hour, and it's broken up into different segments. They have they have a new segment right at the beginning, a quick recap of the weekend news. They have a main story, which is about 10 to 15 minutes of them dealing with one specific subject. They've done things like prison health care. They've done mental health care in America. They've done food waste, you name it, they've done it. So it was a really, really good show. But then they break up these segments by doing little silly things. It's kind of like Monty Python's, and now for something completely different. And one of the segments is the most patient man in television news, and I want to say it's on CSNBC or whatever cable channel it is. It just shows like congressional hearings without any kind of interruption.
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN, yes, that's the one. C-SPAN. And occasionally, they'll take callers on this one guy's show, and even he gets trolled. Okay? He gets people yelling, Baba Booey, how it turns penis into the microphone.
You know what they need to do? They need to do the person that decided to troll headline news, which I thought this was amazing because you could tell the woman was only hired because she was pretty, and they were wanting to push an agenda because LOL news. It was a guy who said he supported Edward Snowden, and the entire time he was referencing Edward Scissorhands. And even at the end when he says, you didn't mean to hurt anyone, Edward Scissorhands, I still love you. She's just like, all right, well, she does. It's not one of those she's trying to ignore him. It's that she doesn't care. She doesn't care anyway.
Right. Well, this guy does not react at all. He's sorry, I had to rescue chicken bones from my cat. He just he doesn't react. He doesn't say anything. He just says okay, and then hits and just hangs up on them. No, this is how I chose to handle it. So all I'm saying is this: I understand that we are outnumbered by trolls, and trolls will attack, and there's just nothing we can do about it. It's just sort of lay back and think of England when it happens. All I'm asking is try to be a bit more creative. I mean, I'll listen. If you're making me laugh, I'll keep going. And that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go for the gold, be the guy who referenced Edward Scissorhands the entire time. Don't be the guy who just fuck her in the pussy. Because that's neither creative. That was new and creative once.
Right. So with that being said, let me bring on a man whose shows never gets trolled, never gets old. He is, of course, the master of all things comic book. He is the host of Source Material Mondays on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. This is Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you to discuss Clutch's new album tonight. I want to tell you guys that about 2 years ago when I first started listening to the Metal Hammer of Doom, I had found out that – is that your cat, dude?
Yep. Just lay back at New England, sir.
Welcome to my world, Mark Radulich. Welcome to my world.
That cat wants the chicken bone, man. I think you need to give the cat chicken bone.
That cat wants something, I'll tell you that right now.
I think you need to grab that water bottle that's sitting around your house and just be like, fuck you, cat, shut up. And then if it doesn't, just squirt it. There you go. Good.
Wait a second. What's this cat's name? Because I used to know this cat's name. I remember Maud. It's Maud, right?
Oh, it's not just Maud.
Oh, it's not just... Then there's Maud.
And then there's Maud.
And then there's Maud. That's right.
I didn't even know you had a cat.
I heard it was. Well, I can't remember if it was a Casual Heroes episode or what episode, but all of a sudden, just Mark blurts out right in the middle of nowhere, "Get down, Maud!" And it resonated with me so much that I used it on Teasley the next night on Cheap Seats. That's how funny it was. But anyway. Yeah, 2 years ago, started listening to Metal Hammer of Doom, and I can't even remember what the first episode I ever listened to was. I'm pretty sure it was about 2 years ago. But anyway, I heard you guys did a Clutch discography review at one point, and I went bananas, went back and found it in the archives, listened to it. Clutch, one of my favorite bands of all time. And the fact you guys got to cover the last album, I got to get on the network, and now I get to talk about this band with you guys. I'm absolutely excited.
Well, I'm glad you're
to have you, of course.
I'm excited.
Yep. Yeah, and we're always happy to have you aboard. I think in your last show you were talking about the long Halloween. You said you started out as the super fan, then as a producer, just because you would listen to the show and it would send us notes and everything as we were doing it. To apparently you had to work up the courage. I understand where you're coming. I understand where you're coming from in the sense of having to quote unquote work up the courage to approach the great and powerful Oz. The other side of that is I heard that and I'm just like, oh dude, if you only knew how easy it was to pitch me something. I'm not Rupert Murdoch.
Well, I am. I was. Let's just say I was in. You guys hold a certain star power here at the Starcher household, at least in my eyes. So there you go.
And
pat yourselves on the back.
It's certainly better to be appreciated than than it is to be insulted, like I am by some others who shall remain nameless.
Well, I was about to say, I think we hold a certain infamy in the eyes of one Mindy Starcher.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Sorry.
I mean, first we get you into just random screamy music, and now I'm trying to get you to read Japanese comic books.
Backwards even.
Yes, backwards comic books.
All right. As much as we can bullshit for the next hour and 15 minutes, if we do that, no one will hear any music, and they'll wonder why we call the podcast Clutch Psychic Warfare Review. So that being said, the new Clutch album came out a week ago Friday. Psychic Warfare. I don't even know how many albums we're up to at this point. The last one prior to this was Earth Rocker, and then prior to that was, I believe. Help me out with this, Jesse. Was it Strange Cousins from the West?
Oh man, I think you're right. I know for some reason I'm thinking Beale Street, but Beale Street came out in like 2006. I'm pretty sure.
I think the order is Beale Street, Strange Cousins from the West, Earth Rocker, and then Psychic Warfare.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't think we're missing one in there.
Let's see. I remember it was the one that had the one with the unstoppable watts. So yeah.
Yeah, that's Strange Cousins from the West. All right. In any case, so there's been a lot of Clutch albums. They've been doing this since way back. Transnational Speedway, which is their first full-length album, came out in 1993. I was a junior in high school at the time. It was depending on when in 1993 this was. I was either graduating my sophomore year or beginning my junior year of high school. And I actually got to see Clutch this past weekend, and I want to link these two ideas. One, seeing them live, and two, them dating back to 1993. Because I saw the show. They played with Corrosion of Conformity, and unfortunately, the one bad thing about Corrosion of Conformity was they played a lot of their more popular songs. They played Clean My Wounds. They played Albatross. They played Wise Blood. They played Voting with a Bullet. They played nothing from American Volume Dealer. And there was a contingent of us who were dying for them to play Who's Got the Fire, but such was not to happen. And that album's not on Spotify either, by the way. I was very disappointed. But Clutch came on, and they played about 5 or 6 songs, I think, from the new album, and then a smattering of other stuff. They went as far back as Self-Titled, but they only played one song from that. They played Burning Beard. They played a couple of songs from Beale Street to Oblivion. They played, I think, Only the Mob Goes Wild from Last Tyrant. And like I said, the rest of it was all songs from Psychic Warfare. And look, a couple of things. Right off the bat, I will tell you Psychic Warfare is a good album. I think it's as good as Strange Cousins from the West. It's not as good as From Beale Street to Oblivion or Earth Rocker, as far as their more modern albums. It's certainly less interesting than Robot Hive Exodus, which is probably their most interesting album in terms of experimenting with different kinds of sounds and whatnot. But I would say it's a I would say it's a solid entry into the Clutch discography, and we'll hear some of those songs in just a moment. But my wife and I were talking about the show, and I ended up posting something on the Clutch Facebook page. I said, I get it. I understand you guys are out there promoting a new album. I understand that unless you're doing your double set tour, an evening with Clutch, where they played 2 sets in one night. You're just, with as many albums as they've got, you're just not going to hear all the songs you want to hear. It's impossible. They'd be up there for 12 hours if that were the case. So I tried not to get myself too excited about, I didn't get to hear this song, I didn't get to hear that song. But it did sort of irk me that after 20 some odd years of listening to this band, more actually, it's 2015, I still have never heard them play Binge and Purge live since probably 1994. And somebody wrote back to me on Facebook, because they'll still occasionally play like Rats, or they'll play Shogun Named Marcus. I mean, that's the one that typically plays from that album. They'll play El Jefe Speaks occasionally, but I never hear them play Binge and Purge, no matter how long the set is. And somebody wrote me back, and I want to get your guys' take on this, and then we'll start playing some albums. Neil Fallon apparently did an interview where somebody asked him, why don't you play Binge and Purge anymore? And he was like, I was in my teens when Transnational Speedway came out. And there was a lot of anger, just from being a kid, that goes into that album and that goes into that song specifically. And I'm so much older now, and to try to channel that anger again for those songs, I would just be a phony. I would have to dredge up feelings that just aren't there anymore. And so there's no reason to play that song, because the band has evolved so much past that. What do you think about that, Jesse? I mean, you have bands like Metallica who still play stuff from their first album, and they don't really make excuses about it, and they certainly have changed their sound over the years. What do you think about Neil Fallon, this idea of, we're going to retire a song because I just don't feel that way anymore?
I respect it, and it's not that we want to give the crowd what they want, but as an artist, this is his music as much as if not more than it is ours. And if he can't feel that, and if he feels that he's somehow deceiving his audience, and if he would have come out and said, I don't play that stuff because he gave us some kind of BS reason as to why they don't do it, okay, I'd call foul. But the fact that he's actually coming forth and saying, and I can remember, a lot of those songs, he was, just like you said, Rats. That's a heavy shit's going to hit the fan song. Binge and Purge. I mean, the place has got to go nuts if that's ever played. But as an artist, I think he has the right, and I think it's an admirable decision. I can't fault the guy for not playing a song because maybe he doesn't believe in it anymore. When you hear Neil Fallon talk, I know it's going to come up at some point, and I'm not going to say the phrase I usually hear about Neil Fallon because I'm going to leave that to one of you guys. But it's almost like the music is somewhat a religion for him. And
he preaches.
There you go. That's right. And if you're a religious man, you're not going to go around preaching to everybody amongst your flock in something you don't believe in. And I can't hold that against the guy.
Slightly different question to you, Coop, and then we're going to jump right into X-Ray Visions here. If Dave Mustaine, and maybe he has, I just didn't know about it, but if Dave Mustaine said, to go back to those first couple of albums of Megadeth, and I just don't feel like that's me anymore. I feel like we've evolved past this. So, help me out here.
No, I'm going to let you flounder.
What?
I said, I'm just going to let you flounder.
Damn you, Cooper! No. no holy wars, no peace cells, no, that's not us anymore. No Hangar 18.
Oh. See, I thought you were going to go with full albums, and I didn't want to give anything away. But before I go on that, I do want to kind of answer what the last question was with another example. Mike Ackerfeld of Opeth. Like, they pretty much just play prog rock now. And I don't think they necessarily refuse to do the heavier stuff live, but it's a whole lot less. And I know he doesn't do the music anymore because he's just not into it, which I can respect that, even though I don't like the prog rock Opeth nearly as much as I like death metal Opeth. I can respect that. Now, for Dave Mustaine, he doesn't necessarily, as far as I know, they don't do songs because they don't feel that aggression anymore, but he does not do certain songs due to his religious affiliation. I don't think he does The Conjuring, or I want to say it was Bad Omen off of, I think both of those are off Peace Cells. Yeah, he doesn't do those songs anymore because Jesus. So, the way I look at it is like Megadeth. The way I look at it is,
I'm not thinking.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same guy that got Rotting Christ kicked off the same festival that he was on because he didn't like their name. So, and yeah, I didn't like that. But
wow.
I mean, I figure with a band like Megadeth or Clutch or even Opeth, bands that have such storied careers, as long as they, don't play like their one big song or something, like, some of those bands that had one big song, they're like, fuck this. Like, they've got so many different songs to play you. The fact that they won't play, like, something off of this album, I don't really see it as that big of a problem unless they decided to go play all their, like, backwoods hits or something. Like, you don't hear anybody bitching because Metallica is like, nah, guys, we're not going to play Saint Anger on this tour. Yeah. I can just see that now, like, all right, guys, we got a surprise. And then the crowd's just like, what? And then they roll out a bunch of Campbell's soup cans.
Oh, my gosh.
Ding, ding, ding,
ting, 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 ting. Oh.
All right. Yeah. Just to wrap this up and move on here, I certainly sympathize with this point of view, and I respect it. On the other hand, a performance is a performance is a performance, and you are performing for an audience, and that audience paid to hear fucking Binge and Purge. I mean, I just...
I didn't say that. You paid to hear Clutch. They didn't say Clutch featuring Binge and Purge on the ticket.
No, I paid to hear Binge and Purge, goddammit.
I don't think so, Mark Radulich.
I could see them being like, oh, Clutch playing the entire Binge and Purge in its entirety. Mark's like, yes, gets there, and they're like, sight, got you, bitches.
Gotcha.
No, the other way, like, they come out like, hey, now, who wants to rock? Yeah, Binge and Purge, good night, everybody. Neil Fallon, right? We were going to do an entire set, but some asshole who thinks he's entitled to hear his song, well, we gave it to him all right, and then left. 90 minutes of I need money. That's all he got to hear. That and Binge and Purge. All right. All right, so we're going to skip the first track here, which is just called The Affidavit, and it's just someone mumbling into the microphone. This is this was their first single. This is their first video from Psychic Warfare. This is the big hit, as it were. This is X-Ray Visions.
Something that I did was buy a pack of smoke, backed into a motel and consult my horoscope. Sitting on the bed with my briefcase in my hand, patiently awaiting anyone from my command. Telekinetic dynamite, psychic warfare is real.
Telekinetic Dynamite. Psychic Warfare is real, Jesse Starcher. What do you think?
Oh, what a track to release as a video to the public. Man, this exemplifies what I fell in love with when I first heard Clutch. 1996, probably the latter part of 96, someone introduced me to Clutch. And I know you guys didn't know me back then, but a brief snapshot of myself. I'm a huge fan of the X-Files. Believe it or not, I was reading comics back then, superheroes, science fiction, all sorts of goofy shit. And someone dropped Clutch in front of me. And for those of you who are familiar with that album, there's so many references to just there's space references, there's obviously alien references, all sorts of good stuff. Okay, now this particular song, just chock full of great modern mythology imagery, I guess is what I would say. And the video itself is just, it tells the story of this guy, going to a hotel and doing some shady stuff. And what's he involved in? We got some X-ray visions going on, and it's just a great song, something that really encapsulates what I believe Clutch is about.
If this were the year that Blast Tyrant came out, it would be the X-Ray Visions would be my favorite track on here.
Oh yeah.
And what I mean by that is there was a period where I looked for on a Clutch album for every song that sounded like Shogun named Marcus. and this this one kind of I hear echoes of 10,000 Unstoppable Watts in there, and that's fine. It's a good song. I have no complaints about it. I think my issue with it, when I say, there's echoes of this and that, and it sort of harkens back all the way to Shogun for me, is that Clutch has evolved their sound so much now that my favorite songs are the ones that sound like DC Sound Attack or Electric Worry. And I realize Electric Worry has now become the Enter Sandman for Clutch. It's the one everyone knows. It's the one everyone wants to hear. But
yeah.
But there's a reason. It's fucking amazing. So I look now for songs like Alpha Beta, 10110001, ribonucleic acid scout, power of prayer. I look for Clutch to do something experiential with their sound, and there's nothing experiential about X-Ray Visions. It's the same song that I've heard before, done a little bit differently. That's not a complaint. It's just the way it is. What do you think, Coop?
I think them releasing something like this as the lead single is a very smart move by them, because this is what I kind of like in the band. I'll tell you, my favorite song by Clutch that I've ever heard was Gone Cold off of Earth Rocker, because it was bluesy as hell, and I could sit back and listen to that song for a very long time. But
have you heard Gravel Road? Wait, have you heard Gravel Road from Robot High Exodus? Okay, if you like Gone Cold, if you like Gone Cold, when this podcast is over, go listen to Gravel Road.
Oh, good. I assume they go right together.
Yeah. Well, don't you think so, Jeff?
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is definitely the. There you go. I've got it on the internet browser. But I think this is really a really calculated move as to release something like this as the lead single, because, I know you're looking for something probably a little more calm or experimental or different. The people who don't know a damn thing about Clutch will be looking for this. So this is almost
that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought this was a really fun song, and I feel like out of all the songs that sound like this on this album, this is kind of the high point. which, like when you were talking about, well, I don't feel like this is as good as this and this, I feel like the songs that aren't this are the standout part, except for this song, which I really like because it's really catchy and fun. And I think the song is about people who wear tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
I totally think it is. Talking about the ghosts of Ron and Nancy Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that
was
great.
the T-shirt art. I didn't buy any T-shirts because the other thing I promised my wife, other than I wasn't going to buy any more comic books, was I'd also stop buying T-shirts. Though I did. The last T-shirt I bought, it's a mock-up of Walt Disney, and it says malt whiskey. And I'll be wearing that to the Food and Wine Festival at the end of October. So I'll be wearing a shirt promoting alcohol, parodying Walt Disney at a place where you walk around and get drunk. But other than moving on from that, all right. Anything else on this one, or we'll move on to the next?
The last shirt I bought was a Fist of the North Star reference, so yay. Nothing says greatness like 80s anime where a really big chin, muscly guy punches somebody and their head literally explodes.
All right. Now, I have opened the Clutch, if you don't know, on their Facebook page. They'll publish their set list, and they change it up every night. There's some, there's some that they'll play every single night. Sometimes they'll change the order. Sometimes they'll just take out an entire song. They opened the show with X-Ray Vision, and they went right into track 3, which follows it, which is Fire. Continuing sort of in the same vein of X-Ray Visions, keeping up the tempo. I want to use this song as an opportunity to talk about his vocal styles. I said it before, and Jesse wholeheartedly agreed with me. The man doesn't sing; he preaches, and he's very animated on stage. I don't know if you've ever seen Clutch live. Neil Fallon doesn't just kind of stand at the microphone and yell. He's all over that stage, and when he's not playing the guitar. My wife noticed this. It's just like he's a wizard, and he's just weaving magic spells on stage.
Yes, that is it, dude. That is it.
This song definitely lends itself out to someone being very animated on stage.
Oh my gosh, man! Some of the it's been so long since I've been to a show. But it's so clear to me, him grabbing the mic, and as he's singing, it looks like he's talking to you. He's pointing at you. It's just like she said. It looks like he's like bringing shit up from the earth and making it rise to the sky, and it's powerful.
He's like a fat bearded sorcerer's apprentice.
Oh, that's awesome.
I will promote your artwork if anyone wants to draw me a picture of Neil Fallon as the Sorcerer's Apprentice now and send it to me. Robert Cooper, Firebirds, go.
Looking at this song, one, it is fun. Reading this song is very interesting because the girl that he picks up in the song likes Firebirds, which that's one of my favorite cars, but energy weapons, all right. It makes you wonder what type of, if we're living in some sort of odd post-apocalyptic wasteland, or perhaps this is the future. But I know one thing, that bitch likes two things, and that is Firebirds and energy weapons, and he has none of them. So she's gone. But the really interesting thing is talking about how he met her outside of, what is that, Needles? And then she left him outside of Barstow. So that is a 2+ hour drive that they somehow went on before, I guess, the Datsun, or as I used to call it, the Datsun, broke down. Yeah, I didn't know any better. Yeah. But I thought like this was a fun song. Again, after I listened to this album a second time, and I feel like it's kind of a grower in terms of staying power with some of the songs, because like I said, there's a lot of the sound that sounds like X-Ray Vision. And when you start off with X-Ray Vision, you leave me going, it's not as good as X-Ray Vision.
I'll tell you, I absolutely think you're right about this, and that's why I said that when I first heard Strange Cousins from the West, I kind of went, huh. And then that was it. That was sort of my sum total reaction. And to this day, I can only tell you, like, maybe one song that I can remember from that album. I mean, if I go back and look at it, I'll go, oh, no, that song's good too, that song's good too. But I remember, like, my initial reaction to Strange Cousins was the only song that stands out to me on this one is 10,000 Unstoppable Watts. And the rest of it is just kind of meh. And that was sort of my initial reaction to this. But hearing him play it live and be that animated, it was definitely one of those experiences where the live version of the song made the whole album for me much better. Changing things up here, like I said, the first couple of songs they played at the set they played in the set at Janus Landing in St. Petersburg were the exact order on the album. So this is track 4, A Quick Death in Texas.
My nasty Yankee, man of wisdom, didn't jive with the local tradition. How was I to know she had a jailous husband? He was the GM of the tractor supply, well acquainted with the guns and knives. Sometimes I swear I have the sense in a bag of hammers. I pray for courage, I pray for love, I pray for guidance from the heavens above. I pray to know divine protection, but now I pray for a quick death in Texas. Yeah.
I like the funk in that song. I like not to be all on the nose about it, but I like that funky beat in the song, that down, 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 down. And I was listening to it. That song sounds much better live than it does on the album.
Should I ever see the damn band?
They're coming to North Carolina.
Oh, I know. They come like hell. They played 20 minutes from my house, and I worked that night. And then they played Rob.
You should have gotten Hefesh to cover you, and you should have gone.
I totally forgot. Actually, I think that was the night where I got off at 8, and I think the concert started at 7:30, and that was like, I think it was like 2 years ago. But or at least a year and a half. Yeah, it was a year and a half. But yeah, they played here.
Like I said, they're playing. I think they're playing Charlotte on this tour.
I'll have to see. Because they'll come back. They always come back. Because they played they played Raleigh, which I was sad because that was Mastodon, Clutch, and Graveyard. And Graveyard has a new album, and it's amazing, by the way. If you like bluesy music, oh, they're so good. Though I've heard Clutch fans are douchebags, by the way. Just a side note.
No.
No offense.
No. I've been to plenty of shows filled with douchebags. Soulfly, for example.
Brofly.
Brofly. I've never had a problem at a Clutch show. I mean, it's a little hipsterish, and it's definitely somewhere along the line, the bros caught on to Clutch, and they do show up. But even the bros sort of like get it quickly that this is not Hatebreed. And it usually, I mean, like the crowd that we saw them at Janus Landing, I saw hipsters, I saw bros, I saw my people, and it was a good melding of folks. I mean, I don't even think there were that many there were that many mosh pits. Not at this point. And at this point, I have come to the conclusion I no longer want to get punched in the eye, so I didn't go in. I just hung out with my wife and had a beer. But
you've got no Radulich.
Yeah, you know what it is. I get tired of explaining to people why I got punched in the eye. Like I walk into work and I have a big black eye or whatever, or or some bruise, or I'm limping or whatever, and then everyone's just like, Mike, did you get into a fight? And I don't work with people who are used to mosh pits, so I then have to explain the entire culture of heavy metal over the past 50 years, and it's just gotten tiresome.
That is very true. Though speaking of bros, Cannibal Corpse will be playing a few 20 minutes from my house, sometime this month. So I was buddy Nick, I'm like, hey Nick, we're gonna see Cannibal Corpse. He's like, I think that crowd is just stuck. I'm like, I think you might be right.
All right, Jesse, you want to weigh in here on a quick death in Texas? Did we lose Jesse? Jesse.
I heard. Yeah,
okay.
See, I thought there was a sound that sounded like maybe he was talking, but couldn't tell if that was my echo.
Well, he just sent us he's got to call back in.
The Quick Death in Texas is an absolutely hilarious song. Because the entire theme of the song is like, oh, please, God, forgive me. I slept with a woman whose husband is really scary. So then he made it to some saloon, trying to drink his way into a stupor. It's this. The damn what's his face? He shows up with a Bible and a shotgun. I'm like, so I guess Jesus is with you.
Like I said, it's when I first heard it on YouTube, I was like, it's okay. And then I heard him play it live, and it's got that sort of that funk beat to it, but slowed down. So so it sounds kind of bluesy at the same time, and I'm like, yeah, see, that's the thing. Sometimes Clutch is much better suited live than recorded. And we have Jesse back finally. Jesse, a Quick Death in Texas, go.
Best song on the album, and Quick Death in Texas was the best one on there. To me, it's really between that and Firebirds, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very big fan of Firebirds at first, just like Coop was saying there earlier about the whole, the energy weapons and that whole fringe kind of science and weird shit happening. Just a quick note, the character from the first song is the same character in the second song, or I should say the character from X-Ray Visions is the same character in Firebirds. But Quick Death in Texas, I enjoy that one immensely. I honestly think these first three songs on this album are the top three for me. So I don't want to say it's all downhill from here, but according to my rating scale, it's going to be. But it doesn't mean the rest of these songs are crap. I can tell you that much.
No, I agree. All right, so they did not play this one next, but Jesse and I were talking about it. Before the album came out, they released 4 songs. 4 songs were uploaded to YouTube, and this was one of them. This is "Sucker for the Witch." I love the bass line in that song. That's like my favorite part of it. It's a rockin' song. It's a fun song, and I think the big attraction to the big hook is that bass line.
I agree. I think it's catchy. As for the, Sucker for the Witch, when I thought of when this song, we were relating to all these past Clutch songs, he has a tendency, and I know this was in those commentary videos that he was doing, but he has a tendency, a lot of his songs are about powerful women or a woman in some type of, authoritative figure of some sort. And then he said space was the other thing. But a lot of his songs are kind of centered around that. I thought of 8 Times Over Miss October from Elephant Riders, because that was it had that kind of like powerful mystic womanly figure in that, I think, as part of that song. But anyway, that's what I first thought of thinking of this. And it's funny because he mentions that a lot of his songs are, 90% of it's fiction. Obviously, most of the stuff he's singing about isn't something that happens, but he says he rarely puts parts of what's happened to him in the songs, and this is one of those songs in which he did. He talks about on the commentary about how he went to Salem, Massachusetts with his parents, and when he says he was hardly a man, he's actually telling a story that actually happened to him, where he saw a lady who was sitting out front at Salem of a witchcraft store in Salem, Massachusetts. But a good song. I think it's definitely a rocking song. I love the upbeat stuff that Clutch plays. There's very little amongst their songs that if it's upbeat, I mean, I'll listen to it no problem whatsoever.
See, I can tell I'm getting older, and I'll bring you in just a second, Coop. But I can tell I'm getting older because, like I said, there was a period around the time of Last Tyrant and up to the time of Last Tyrant where I'll tell you what, I'll go as far as to say that when they released their self-titled album, I was a little disappointed. There wasn't enough stuff that sounded like Shogun Nate Marcus. Okay? But
want some heavy shit.
And I'm almost 40 years old now, and I've come to appreciate so much about this band and so much about music in general that I actually now look forward to the stuff that sounds like Regulator, or the stuff that sounds like Electric Worry or Alpha Beta. We're getting to my favorite song on the album, which is Our Lady of Electric Light, which I told you offline. To me, it sounds like another version of the Regulator. And that's what I enjoy about them. That's sort of my one complaint about the previous song, Quick Death in Texas, I didn't say before, was even though I enjoyed that sort of funk beat to it, I enjoyed that sort of country twang. In previous songs, they would introduce an element that made the song stand out even more. A cowbell, a harmonica, something, a pipe organ, and it was like none of that stuff was. So it was like they had the kind of song that would usually bring that out, and then didn't introduce any of those elements at all. It was almost like a stripped down version of Clutch doing that sort of thing. Real quick, Coop, your thoughts on "Sucker for the Witch"?
I could dig it. It's kind of one of those songs that was. It was one of those that was like, yep, that's a song. I enjoyed it, though. I guess I'm getting old, too, because while I really love fast things, like that time for like a month, all I did was listen to Speed Wolf in my car, which I still do that occasionally. But I kind of like to appreciate stuff that's not necessarily really fast or heavy. That's why I've been listening to Japanese rock music all week. I don't know. I just think music's got a lot to offer. At least non-shitty music has plenty to offer. I should edit that statement.
So, live, they followed up X-Ray Vision's Firebirds and Quick Death in Texas with Crucial Velocity, Burning Beard, The Face, my personal favorite, DC Sound Attack, and then we jumped right back in the pool with this next song, Your Love is Incarceration. I wish there was a 7th season of Justified featuring all music from Clutch. That's all I'm going to say about that. I want to produce a season of Justified or some movie that takes place in the modern West, and just have Clutch provide the soundtrack.
Well, I wish I could speak on that. I have not watched Justified.
Well, get off this podcast and go watch it because you're missing out.
So I've heard on other podcasts that you've been on.
I obsess over things. Have you noticed that? My wife came to the conclusion that she married the not so retarded version of Peter Griffin because I absolutely have an obsession of the week.
Yep, me too.
Oh. Wow. Wow.
It could be worse. You could still have not finished The Wire like me, because I'll just marathon a season in a week and not come back for another year.
Isn't it so good?
The Wire. Come on, The Wire. I'm almost done. Gosh darn it, I'm on season 3.
All right, Jesse, your thoughts here on Your Love is Incarceration.
It's a Clutch love song. You don't get too many of these. At what point do I remember Clutch actually having a love song, and a decent upbeat one too? My question back to you, Mark Radulich, is what do you think of? Well, I'll swing this to Coop.
No, don't ask your question. I will answer and then talk to Coop. Go.
Okay.
Quick.
All right. So, I mean, hey, look at the jail references all over this freaking song, man. Does this speak to you or what?
Yeah, and well, I'll tell you what. Like I said, I glossed over it when I heard it on YouTube at home. I might have been distracted, but it didn't jump out at me at all. When I heard it live, I was very much into it. And then while I understand you're trying to hook me with some of the jail references, I mean, I didn't listen to it enough to catch them, but like I said, I did enjoy the song live.
Okay, cool. Coop, what are your thoughts on the song, man?
Well, let's see. It mentions the paddy wagon, cuffs, parole. Let's see, segregating from local population, incarceration, larceny, public nuisance, conspiracy, sedation, no, fuck it.
What the hell did you just say?
It's Sedition.
All right, then.
Sedition.
I thought you was talking Latin there for a second.
No, let's see. Arson, guilty in the first degree, but really, I'm just finding these fizz songs fucking hilarious, especially the last two parts of the last verses, because that thing that happened in Chattanooga with the garden hose and the yellow pages.
Dude, I remember. Okay, I've heard this a couple times, and I'm sitting there trying to think, like, what the hell could have possibly happened? Is this a reference that I'm not aware of by chance? That or is it just some crazy stuff? How does the yellow pages figure into this?
Maybe he looked up somebody that was into that. I don't know.
I just don't understand, man.
Let's see. I just Googled garden hose and yellow pages, and all I'm getting is hydraulic hose repair in California. So,
all right then. You didn't put Chattanooga in there. Maybe there's something to do with Chattanooga. Some kind of crazy dark web stuff that happens down there in Chattanooga.
It's a good thing I'm on Google, because you can't find many pornographic things on Google.
Yes.
So
thank goodness.
Yes, I think I'll be okay. No, let's see. All I've got is a bunch of hydraulic hose repair.
Okay. Well, we tried to figure out
and the lyrics for Your Love is Intoxication by Clutch. That was the first result.
All right, then.
Ooh, and Lowe's garden repair. There we go. That's exactly what I need. Advertisements for my work. Well, I'm not at work.
As he throws his computer across the room.
Yeah, well, I was bitching the other day. I'm like, man, I don't do anything on my weekends, really. And then I was like, oh, I work. Well, I was like, damn, maybe they should just work me during the week. And then I went, well, no, wait, they did that one week, and it was absolutely miserable. Never mind. That was a bad week. But yeah, I thought this is a very entertaining song. I mean, it's slightly forgettable in terms of actual musical content, but lyrically, it is just a barrel of monkeys.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I just want to tell you right now, and I'll shut up about this. But so far, every song that we've heard on this album, I would dance. Okay, I don't dance very often.
No,
but I would dance.
You're like Madeline Albright. You don't dance for no man.
I would boogie. I'd get a boogie. I'd bust a boogie out. So now that's just where I'm at with this one.
Yeah, I do dance, but it doesn't take much at a Clutch show for me to get going. It's funny, but the Clutch show I went to a year or so ago with my wife and our two friends, they lost me for the entire show. And one of my friends remarks, she's never seen me quite that unglued before. So
it's Clutch, baby.
It's one of the only places I feel like I can truly be myself. But anytime I start to talk like that, people will call in and yell fag at me. So let's move on. All right, so at over there at the old Janice Landing, they went from Your Love is Incarceration right into probably one of my favorite songs. Now, they skipped Doom Saloon. We're going to skip Doom Saloon as well, because I feel like it's just more of an extended intro into Our Lady of Electric Light. So let's do as they did and jump right into this. This is the slow jam Our Lady of Electric Light. I hear that song and I imagine it's playing over a sequence in some sort of Quentin Tarantino ode to a spaghetti western. And I'm not making a joke about that. If you look at like Django Unchained, he's got another movie coming out this December that will be reviewed right here on the Red Religion Broadcasting Network with myself and Robert Winfrey, called The Hateful Eight. And I hear Our Lady of Electric Light, and I'm like, someone fucking tell Quentin Tarantino about this song so that he can use it in one of his movies that focuses on westerns, because that's where it belongs. Like that's got a, if you follow my meaning, that's got a very cinematic quality to it. I also like the use of distortion in the guitar. Again, they didn't pepper it up with anything spicy like the pipe organ or the harmonica or or any wind instruments or anything like that. So as stripped down as it is, it's still I hear the song and I think Django Unchained or even Kill Bill, something along those lines.
I feel you. I can see that.
Yeah.
A lot of their. Go ahead, Coop.
Oh no, I was totally just agreeing with the statement. This is really a kind of a deserty, bluesy, kick-ass western song. I can dig it.
A lot of their slower stuff is what I've seen on like TV. I believe I wish I could remember the name of the song, but The Walking Dead featured one of their songs. Thank you. It featured one of their songs, and you could almost it has that slow kind of a feel to it and almost a sadness. And I would almost say that this particular song has the same thing. Regulator definitely had that to me. But yeah, this will be something that we will see, I bet, it'll be either in a movie or it's going to be on an episode of something. They gravitate to their slower stuff a lot, and I'll tell you right now, Mark, I know you're a fan of this song, but I am not, and that's just because I so dig all their upbeat stuff, and they need a spot at some point just to kind of wind down. But this is just like, man, give me a pillow, all right? I won't go to 9 nights and put on A Lady of Electric Light so I can go to sleep. What was it like? They played this at the concert, you said?
Yeah, they literally played it in this order. They played Beloved Incarceration and then Our Lady of Electric Lake.
And, people going to get drinks, or what happened?
Well, as far as the crowd, I think people just kind of stood and listened. It's not like I did an interview with people or was paying that close attention. But I will tell you.
What do you think of this song, sir? Leave me alone, motherfucker.
Running up to people with my hat on, with a little press card and the This is a Muppet News Flash. Boring song, quickly, film at 11. There were probably look, at any concert you're going to hear when the tempo slows down in the rock and roll show, you're going to get assholes who yell out "Freebird." You're gonna get people who are just like I came here to mosh, and where's the match music? No patience for anything else. But like I said, Clutch usually brings out a majority of adults who can dig it. And I'll tell you what, it also brings out a lot of elder folks. Let's remember, I am almost 40 years old, and there were people there much older than me. And there are people there much older than me bringing their children. I can't tell you how many
Wow.
Wow. And every time I do, I always point it out to my wife because she gives me shit about wanting to bring Lily and eventually Jonas to a concert when I feel like their ears can handle it. Because it's one thing to bring them, because like, do you want to expose your kids? Yes, I do. It's perfectly fine. They'll be okay seeing people drink, but but they also have young ears, and I don't want to damage their hearing.
Yeah.
So that's more of my concern. But I turn around and there's people with really young children at this show, and good for them. I would say people were just kind of shuffling and kind of waiting for things to pick back up again. I think, but a lot lot of people really liked it. There were definitely people holding up lighters.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that had to have happened.
Yeah. Now, do you just not like the song, or you're kind of like, hey, I prefer the fast clutch to the slow clutch?
Well, if I was to really compare it, I would be looking at all the rest of their slower songs, and I think there's better slower songs that Clutch does compared to this.
Name 5.
What's that?
Name 5.
Name 5? I would have to have the discography in front of me, but we already named one, and that would be Regulator. I'm not going to be able to do it. I would fail. I would fail miserably because I don't have it in front of me.
I threw a life preserver to you. I said Space Grass.
Space Grass, there's no way that gets put below this. Space Grass is like the Clutch song to me. It's one of their slower songs too. But as soon as Space Grass hits, But give me another one. You got another one off the top of your head? Because they really don't do a whole lot of slow stuff.
I would say. I wanted to relay this story. The first time I heard the Regulator was before Blast Tyrant came out. So they were. This is around the time they had put out Pure Rock Fury, they put out Jam Room, they had yet not put out Blast Tyrant, but they were starting to play songs from that album, and they played a show, and they're playing all their familiar songs, and then they bust out the Regulator, which no one had heard before. It hadn't been released, and I remember all of us are sort of shocked. It was like. They had just put it was like they put a piece of artwork on stage, and it took everyone by surprise.
Yeah,
it's kind of the reaction, and people didn't know what to think. And I remember at the end of the show, I was like, we were all, that was the one thing we took away from that show was what was that song? But why did they break out into slow country in the middle of this?
What the hell's going on?
Where did the Haggard song come from?
Well, you mentioned how you're getting older. The band's getting older too, man, and I think that's a lot of where it's coming from. And this song has a place in a set. Don't get me wrong. If they busted this out, it's not like I'm, oh fuck this, I'm leaving, going back to I gotta get me a drink, I'll buy a T-shirt. No, I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna listen to them play it.
Jesse Starcher's up there throwing his bottle at them, going, binge and purge, binge and purge.
No, I would never do that to Neil. He'd come down and probably kick my ass.
Probably. hit you with his epic beard.
He could, man. Magic beard, man. Don't mess with it.
Winfrey, before we move on to the next one, you want to throw in here with Our Lady of Electric Light?
Winfrey is on the podcast now?
Fuck,
Jesus.
Sorry.
No, thank you. You're a little above my age range. So, yeah, I did. It's been a while since I've listened to one of Winfrey's podcasts because I used to be able to kind of go into a version of his voice, or at least try. Like I said, I thought this was I really liked this song. It had a nice bluesy, deserty, western feel. You know, it felt like it should be in the credits of a Tarantino film, if not in the Tarantino film, because that man loves his westerns. I don't know. It's one of those that definitely stuck with me. Like I said, the X-Ray Vision is the song that I feel like people show up for, but I think these sorts of songs that show that they have a lot of musical depth, I think that's the reason why people stay.
I would agree with that. Well, they, much like they did earlier in this set, they went right into the next song on the album. At the live show, they went right into Noble Savage. That's probably my least favorite song on the album. I think I put up with it when it was live, just because of the tempo of it and the energy of the song. But kind of hearing it back, it doesn't translate as well just listening to a recording of it, and it's not my favorite.
It's a song.
Well,
no.
It's a song. Coop.
That's it, Coop. That's your entire take on it. It's a song. Move plugs.
Well, it was a song. It was kind of short. I like what it was doing lyrically. The whole it builds is it like, oh, you're not taking into account that I'm an uncivilized man because I'm an unapologetic lifer for rock and roll. And then the second verse is talking about how you're not taking into account the fact I'm a noble savage and an unapologetic lifer for rock and roll. And then the final verse is talking about how they're not taking into account that he's a sophisticated man and an unapologetic lifer for rock and roll. I like how it's like, yeah, it builds. That is cool. It's interesting.
Yes,
but yes, musically, this is a song.
This is one of those songs where I was scratching my head. Usually, I have some idea of what Clutch is talking about, just because I'm familiar with whatever it is they're talking about. So I was wrapping my head around this, trying to figure out what he was talking about. And again, he talked. I watched the interview where he talked about the inspiration for this song, and it's about the fact that he has to when he goes to get the specific example he used was if I go to get a loan. He goes, they hit you with 1,000 questions. What do you do? And he has to sit there and explain to them, well, I'm the lead singer of a band. And, they have all these doubts in them. But he has to explain himself over and over and over. And then he's always wondered about, why is such a stigma about, well, obviously there's reasons, but you know, as the lead singer of a rock band, he has all these presumptions put upon him.
Well, not to mention the fact that he looks like he'd be more likely to rob the bank than he would be to pay it.
Yeah, man, listen to this guy talk though. I just don't know how. I've never met the guy and talked to him face to face, but what I've seen in interviews and stuff like that, the guy just like he says in there, he's a sophisticated man. He carries himself like he is a philosopher almost. That's about the idea that I get of the guy.
Can I counter that with I think Neil Fallon's full of shit?
Please explain, sir.
I love the music. They're my favorite band in the whole world. If I had, on my desert island, if I had to bring just one band's discography with me, it would be Clutch, because of everything I've said before. But this is why, like, when Melissa has asked me in the past, like, would you ever want to meet Neil Fallon? I'm like, no. I've heard him in interviews. He sounds like he's full of shit. This is a guy who's probably the smartest stripper in the room. No one's going to challenge him because they're all dumber than he is. But that doesn't mean he knows what he's talking about. It's just, it's like, when you're the tallest midget, you're not necessarily in a place where people, the people that are around you are challenging what you say. And so you start to, you get a big head about it and believe, well, obviously you're so smart, you're so right about everything, and everybody else is so wrong. And so I can only imagine what talking to him must be like. I could hear his thoughts on the Iraq War, and be like, well, no, that's not necessarily true. It's more complicated than all that, and his fucking head would explode.
All right then.
I can imagine just walking on the tour bus and being like, well, no, Neil, things are a bit more complex than the way that you see them. And then I'd in the next scene, they're kicking me off the bus and I don't have any pants on. Like, oh, what happened to you? And it's like,
I challenged Neil Fallon's view on life.
He took my pants.
All right.
And maybe he's not that much of a douchebag, but I would bet I'm not betting my children anymore, but I would bet $1.
$1. $1.
About that if he were actually challenged by somebody that was equal or greater intelligence than him, he'd crumble and he wouldn't be able to take it.
Oh, Neil would be smart enough to back out before it even got that far.
Okay. He'd go back to his midgets as king.
There you go. He has his flock, man. Where else you going to go? There's nowhere else you need to go.
Look, I kind of regard Clutch as the most exciting church on the block. It doesn't really matter what they're saying or what they're preaching. I don't believe it, but at least the choir sings. His particular choir sings the best gospel. So figure if I got to go to church, I might as well go to the one that entertains me the most.
Amen.
Coop, you want to add on anything there, or shall we move on?
Amen.
All right. So speaking of church, the next two songs they played were Texan Book of the Dead, in which case the place came unglued.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then they played Earth Rocker, and then they finished off the main set with two out of the last three songs on the album, this being one of them. This is Behold the Colossus.
Yes, we are Gorgon!
like that song a lot. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to go over to you first, Coop. Lyrically, what's going on there? Because it seems like they're using a lot of ancient Greek mythology type lyrics. Either that or X-Men, one of the two.
Cyclops.
Yeah. Yes, of course, it's talking about all the Russian members of the X-Men, of course, all like 2 of them. Yeah, yes, both Magic and Colossus. But yeah, it seems to me that this is really talking. This is more of a set in Greek mythology, which is cool. That's something you don't often. I'm not a Clutch expert, but I don't really think of many Clutch songs that are super duper mythological. I mean, hey, I guess it kind of makes sense when you look at the album cover. That looks like it's something very, very Greek in nature. Well, not necessarily Greek, perhaps more Norse, but, something different in between the canons there.
Speaking of Greece, there's an exchange of dialogue on The Wire where someone says, hey, lay off the Greeks, they invented civilization, and then someone retorts, and ass fucking. The Wire, folks. You can watch it on HBO, HBO Go, and HBO Now. Brought to you by
Amazon Prime. There you go. And Amazon Prime. That's where I watch it on.
And Amazon Prime, yep.
I got that, Mark. I will help you spread the gospel, even though I'm not going to watch the next season until next year.
Jesse, you want to weigh in on the X-Men theme song here? Did we lose Jesse again?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear about it on Facebook in a few minutes. As long as we don't lose him after we get off the air again. Crap. Okay, yeah, because that's probably the worst. I mean, they were on a roll on what ended up being a 4-hour podcast. I talked for 3 minutes before I realized that Jesse wasn't the one that left. I was.
That sucks.
Yeah, that was the best part about that is I was just talking and talking and talking, and then I looked at the phone and it was off. Huh.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on another page, looking at another website and suddenly realizing that I'm the one that's not on the show anymore, and I'm hosting.
Wait a minute.
Hey. All right. We're not going to wait for Jesse. He'll be back momentarily. In the meantime, we're going to move on to our second to last track. They did not play this one live. This is Decapitation Blues. I believe the best way to describe that song is meh. No.
See, actually, that's one of my favorites on the album.
Really? Tell me why.
I think it's the that bridge between the verse and the chorus. Like it gets in my head. Like it's one of those little earworms for me that, like, even when I was listening to other parts of this album, I'd always just go back to that one bridge part. I feel like it's got a real catchiness to it. It's very much like what was the song? Was it Noble Savage? It's almost like how Noble Savage, they're very similar in nature, except I feel like this one has that bridge that kind of really elevates it above the other ones. Like it's got that one memorable hook, and it's a fairly heavy song. I think maybe that's the other thing, that this is a really metal song on this album. It's got that feel of like the other night when I was listening to my litany of just Japanese funk music. I went and put on the new album by the Graveyard, and then the new album by the Sword, and it really has that feel of that album by the Sword, that desert rock feel, that you get from bands like Caius. Like, yeah, it's got that real kind of deserty stoner feel, and I dig it.
Jesse, what'd you think? Decapitation Blues.
Oh, closer to the end of the top songs for me. This is, I guess you should say, make that the bottom of my list of songs that are good off. I didn't like this one. I'll just put it that.
Yeah,
I didn't like this one. I mean,
I can't say I didn't like it. I just, it was more of it was just there.
Yeah.
I think if it didn't have that the heavier feel and that bridge, kind of that bridge guitar part, I think this really wouldn't have a whole lot to stand out with it for me. But I'd feel like those two parts really, I don't know, I like it. Is it a song I'm going to remember, next year? No. But
it's got a, I mean, the story behind the song's interesting, but it just doesn't make the song that much interesting. It's about he got neck surgery and they put a cadaver bone in his neck, and it's about, there's musings about how, if you get a body part from somebody else, and like he said, there was a lot of concern about the fact he don't headbang anymore. I don't know if you see this, if you saw that at all, Mark, but he used to do that at a lot of his older concerts. He doesn't do that anymore because of the neck surgery that he had, because it could potentially hurt him pretty bad.
No, I definitely didn't see that. I saw him more. It's funny you mentioned it, because and we have less than a minute left. We're going to go a little bit over, not tremendously over, probably about 10, 15 minutes just to wrap up and get plugs done and everything. So if you've been listening live, thank you for tuning into the Metal Hammer of Doom. We will be back in 2 weeks with Frost and Brawl. That's Rob's pick. That's our Halloween treat for this month. But and then we'll have 2 more shows after that through the months of November and December. You'll hear more when we get to plugs. But again, if you've been listening live, thank you very much. We're going to go over another 10, 15 minutes to cover the last song and our closing thoughts. So, all right. I noticed at the show he was keeping his head kind of straight. I didn't really see him headbang at all, and he was animated as normal, but it was more. I would say he was also not subdued, but more, like I said, like he was like the Sorcerer's Apprentice. He's moving his hands and he's pointing, and he's kind of like acting out the song, but he isn't necessarily like dancing and reacting to the beat, which was headbanging. Okay, this is the last song on the album, and they did play this song live. This was the last song on the main set. This is Son of Virginia.
When the storm blew over, we made our way to infiltrate the the dim light of a narrow window, we saw the gods on the truth staring right back at us. Recite your lineage and genealogy, you've got to know your history, son of Virginia. Everybody's in the church believing they're a sinner and looking for a sign from the true son of Virginia. Stare through the embers on the 1st of November and remember you were born a true son of Virginia. I was drowned to the ground as my world broke asunder. Truly we are living in an age of wonder. Truly we are living in an age of wonder.
I thought it was a strong closer. I really liked that song. I can picture credits rolling over it. Not as good, I think, as Our Lady of Electric Light, but still, I think a great song, another great addition into the Slow Clutch Hall of Fame. And overall, like I said, I thought this was sort of a B+, A- album. I read some reviews on Psychic Warfare, and I think people, like some of the reviews actually did not like Earth Rocker as much. They thought, they said this one was more balanced. I would take the opposite view. Balance to me is kind of more of the same, and I want more, and I want different. I want Clutch to, hit a cow in the middle of a song, ding 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 boo. To throw, I don't know if you've ever seen the parody of Walk the Line, the parody movie of Johnny Cash, where it gets to the part where he's like experimenting with different sounds, and he's got all these like weird ass African instruments and shit like that. That's kind of what I want to see in Clutch. I want them to mess around and try different things. But there wasn't a lot of this. It was just like, it was, we got to put out a new album here, and this is what we do, and it was a solid effort, but not their most. I feel like it wasn't their most creative. I feel like they've done better. So, would I recommend this album? Sure, I'd tell everybody about Clutch. I grew out my beard for this show, and one of the lieutenants at the jail was like, "Was it like quarterly shave month? What's going on here?" But clean yourself up, son. And I was like, "No, you don't understand. I'm going to see Clutch." And I was telling them about it, and then they saw me today. They're like, "Yeah, actually, they're not bad. They're pretty good." And I'm like, "That's right. And yes, I will shave. I promise." But solid, not great. Jess?
It's definitely not number one, but I'll give it a top. I'll probably give this, in my opinion, for me, myself, and I, probably top 5. Now, here's the thing. When Clutch releases an album, and we ain't even hit a week yet, I'm usually on like cloud 9 and rose-colored glasses all over the place. So it's, most likely after I listen to this album another 50 times, I'll probably start, picking away at it and saying, okay, well, a good Clutch album's got to have a good song on it that almost every song is something that I enjoy. Now, this one, to me, there's 3 or 4 that I'm just like, I could do without that song. It isn't like I'm going to miss it. It's not memorable. So this has a few knocks against it when it comes to that. There's a lot of good stuff to it. I say top 5. I'm sure that'll probably my feeling is that it will probably slide a little bit further. It's definitely not going to be Strange Cousins from the West, which I think is, to me, that's one of their worst albums they ever put out. But it's going to be a good ways above that. As for Son of Virginia, great closer, just like you said. I cannot wait to figure out. I can't wait to see the commentary on this particular song if they release it, because I don't know what the hell is going on in this song. We got dogs walking around smoking cigars. We've got people looking in sarcophaguses. I mean, I don't understand what True Son of Virginia. I want to know how it all relates, because I'm absolutely confused. But it's a great song. When we were talking slow songs earlier, this one, me and you differ totally when it comes to, and I consider this a slow song, but if we're going to put this on the level of Lady of Electric Light, this one, I'm sorry, blows it out of the water. When you said Regulator, when we were talking on Facebook, this was the song. After I heard it, I was like, no, wait a second, he's talking about Son of Virginia. But you said it was Lady of Light. Lady of Electric Light, excuse me. But anyway, I'm extremely ecstatic that I got the chance to talk about this album and that they released it. So, other than that, it's a great Clutch album, and this would be one I would not have any problem recommending to someone to listen to. Oh, you know what? One more thing. I just wanted to say real quick in regards to like charts. I don't know if you guys looked at this or not, but the charts, it's just interesting to see how Clutch has evolved over the years, in the past 20 some years. They broke the top 100, at least on the charts here, with Robot Hive at 94, 52 with From Beale Street to Oblivion. They topped at 38 with Strange Cousins somehow, and then Earth Rocker hit 15. So, top 15 of the Billboard 200, that's awesome, and they've been it's been steadily going up. So it'll be interesting to see where this sets at, because the popularity of Clutch has been 20 years in the making. Man, me and you, Mark, have been fans of this band for a very long time, and we've been telling everybody about it. And it's just like now, finally, people are fucking figuring it out.
22 years. It's been 22 years since Transnational Speedway, going by that 1993 date. And I've been a fan of the band since that album came out. Like I said,
awesome.
I got a hold of that album in 1993. So, I think the thing that the Clutch got popular by word of mouth and by incessant touring. And I don't know, Metallica would be the right fit, but they need to open for or support a band that plays like an arena, and I think they would blow up. Because people hear their music in television shows, and they hear certain songs here or there, and people really like it. And people who are not necessarily into heavy metal dig Clutch, and they don't, And I used to refer to Clutch as the best band no one's ever heard of, because like I'll say to people, like I'm going to see my favorite band of all time, and they're expecting me to say like Slipknot or something, and I'm like, no, it's Clutch, and they go, who? But when you find that person who does know Clutch and loves Clutch, it's like you found a member of a secret society.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, blood brother. So they really, I think it's amazing that they cracked number 15. But I think for them to really become a staple of modern American mainstream music, they're going to have to tour with somebody like huge. Even maybe open up for a country artist that's got a bit more of an edge to him, or I can see Clutch opening up for Kid Rock, and that not pissing off all the Kid Rock fans.
I walked around a con a couple years ago, and maybe a little bit less than that, but anyway, wore my Clutch shirt, and people call you out if you've got a Clutch shirt on. It's just, that's got to fucking happen. They're like, hey, nice shirt, Well, towards the end of the day, I'm walking around, and this vendor comes up, and he's like, dude, I've been watching people walk around all day. You never see anybody walk at any cons that I go to. Nobody's wearing a Clutch shirt. He's like, we got to talk. So for about 2 hours, we just sat there and shot the shit about Clutch and any other band we could think of. Secret Society's right, man. It's crazy how how well, how people respect this band, and fans identify with other fans.
I'll give you the last word here, Mr. Cooper, and then we will go into plugs. Go.
Ooh, I really like Son of Virginia. It had that kind of chill, bluesy feel to it. I've been trying to figure out what the hell it's talking about. I don't know.
No, dude, this is crazy.
I was Googling All Saints Day 98, and all I found was on Rotten Tomatoes, a movie called All Saints Day from 1998. And not a single actor in it had a picture on their Rotten Tomatoes page, so I assume it's not about that movie.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty cool album, though. In terms of overall lasting impact of Psychic Warfare, I'm going to remember X-Ray Vision. Let's see. And probably Our Lady of Electric Light and maybe Son of Virginia. That's about it. We'll see. We'll see how well this holds up. Because, like, Earth Rocker, you've got DC Sound Attack, Earth Rocker, and Gone Cold. And I think that was about what I remembered. But those are songs that I go back to, like, every few months. Because I'm like, God, I love these songs. So we'll see. It was a pretty solid album, though. I'll give it about a 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, something like that. It was solid. It wasn't the most mind-blowing album. But, I mean, hey, it was a fun entry in a band that does plenty of fun entries. So, yeah, I could dig it.
All right. So as I said, to close out, that was the Son of Virginia was the last song they played in the main set. As I said, their encore was Gravel Road, which if you like bluesy clutch and you haven't heard Gravel Road, you ain't heard nothing. They played The Mob Goes Wild, and I adjusted my pants. And then the last song of the night was Electric Worry, and which you can hear that bang 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 Vamonos Vamonos in one of the video game. I think it's like Badlands or something like that. In a video game commercial. That's the one everyone loves. If you go on Spotify, that's the #1 most popular track on Spotify. Everyone loves them some Electric Worry, and why not? It's an awesome song. As I said before, 2 weeks from tonight, we will be looking at The Wanderer by Frost on Blah. That's Robert's pick, our Halloween treat, as it were. And in between all of that, a week from this Thursday, we'll be looking at Jaws and Jaws 2 on the Long Road to Ruin. Robert Winfrey and I, this Wednesday, will be reviewing Pan. If you haven't heard it yet, we just reviewed The Martian featuring Matt Damon and company. Go ahead and give that a listen. We definitely had a fun conversation talking about that movie. It was good. Should definitely win some Oscars. So we have a review up of The Martian. We'll have a review up of Pan this Wednesday. Robert Winfrey and Jason Teasley will then, a week from that, will review Crimson Peak. And then finally, the week of Halloween, Robert Winfrey and I will be doing a split 7-inch. I will be reviewing Gem and the Holograms. He will review Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, and we'll see which one was more horrifying. In the meantime, like I said, we have a 2-parter on Jaws starting this Thursday, and then 2 weeks from then, and in between, Frost on Blah. Robert Cooper, what you got going on besides midterms?
I can't wait for that Throssenblad album. Throssenblad 2, Wander on the Continent of Saplings. I'm hoping for that December show. Maybe Throssenblad 3 will come out. We'll do that. We'll find out. We'll find something. We always do.
And in November, Limp Bizkit, baby.
Oh, God. See, I was about to talk about that. I was supposed to be like, see, after we get my pick, then we get to go to the songs about nookies and cookies and sticking things up your ass. So I am really tempted to do, like, straight-up waxing poetic, lyrical, like, breakdowns of every one of these Limp Bizkit songs just to troll you. Because I know you're expecting me to start yelling about
I said, I can't be trolled. I won't be trolled.
No, because you want me to yell about how this is like the very antithesis of good music, and I'm pretty sure the guys in Five Finger Death Punch whack off to this music like daily. And I am very sure that every muscle-bound brotard with their Jinko jeans is probably still bowing down to their bubblegum shrine of Fred Durst. But
Ooh,
we will have to see where that goes. Yeah. Hey, Arnold reference. What's up? But, so we got those coming. That's going to be awesome. Other podcasts to look forward to on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Little plug for old Jesse Starcher there. I saw he put our Vinland Saga podcast at the end of the year. Good call.
I understand, sir. Sometimes you get a little behind. I'm just giving you some time to catch up.
Yes. Well, hey, I'm not the one who needs extra time for this one. I just need recording time, really.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you're lucky. It's a monthly manga.
Indeed.
You know, it is really pretty too. Gosh, it keeps getting prettier and better. Oh, can't wait for you to read more of it. Yay! But yeah. Forward to that coming on the Source Material podcast, if I'm not mistaken, the day after Christmas. So, yay, a late Christmas present for me, or maybe an early Christmas present for next year. I don't know. But I'll have that. There is, of course, hopefully, knock on wood, should I find some time, the return of the Sentai Hentai Frentai Happy Go Fun Time Japanese podcast. It's been a year. It has literally been a year. I was talking to my co-host there. I'm like, damn it, Hunter.
1 year.
I'm like, damn it. He goes, I know. He's like, we haven't done anything. People keep liking our page, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I don't know either. So I was like, there's a new Kamen Rider series. We need to do it. It's called Kamen Rider Ghost. So we'll see what happens. It's a pretty cool design. I love the suit design. I haven't finished episode 1 because I tried to watch it last night, and then I was started having panic attacks about my lesson plans. So maybe in the next week or two we'll have that out. I'll have to figure out what day to post it since I haven't posted an episode of it in a year, and I'm not quite sure what the landscape of the Radulich Broadcasting Network schedule is anymore. It used to be like we had to fight for a spot, but I kind of feel like it's kind of thinned out a little.
Well, dude, if there's ever a tight spot, just let me know. I'll definitely. I'm trying to stay bi-weekly, so if you need a spot, just let me know.
I think we'll be good because, we don't do anything on Tuesdays. Well, yeah, there's Cheap Seats. It's Tuesdays, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm still on that one. We still
Teasley somehow comes out of his 18,000-hour work shifts to pull a podcast out of his ass every week. And for that,
tune into one. We make it. It shows. Tune into one.
Gosh, actually, in terms of podcasts, like I have like a podcast app on my Kindle, and it's like 9 anime podcasts. So like I alternate between like, new episode of this, and I've done the Mark Radulich thing, since it's about a 40-minute drive to get to my school one way. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to a podcast.
Well,
you get through a lot. Hey, you listen to a lot of shit that way. But the final podcast for me to plug is the Cooperative Multiplayer Podcast on Spreaker.com, which is Spreaker.com/co-op-multi. Sean Garmer. Let's see, who else is on there? Oh, yeah, Mark Morrison. They keep inviting me to show up. And last time I was like, yeah, guys, I'll show up. And Sean messaged me like, hey, you going to be on tonight? And I didn't respond because I fell asleep like 5 minutes later. And he even did it when I was like, hey, I think we can get started around midnight. Since they like the podcast, they do like 3-hour podcasts starting at 2 a.m. sometimes. So, yeah, their wrestling podcast is like 3 hours long, and they do Ring of Honor, TNA, Lucha Underground, NXT. Like,
I bet Mark would love to be on that show.
Well, they're generally positive about the product, and I'll like him and his co-host Gary and his other co-host is, I can't remember his name because I think I've only done one podcast with him. Paul, that's his name. He watches a lot of Japanese. Well, yeah, he does a lot of Japanese stuff.
I'm usually the only one on the casual show defending it.
That's why I was saying that's why I was saying you like them, because you're positive and you're not like, oh, this isn't as good as the 80s. Nothing will ever be as good as the 80s, or something to that effect. I mean, really, the 80s were great, and so was the Attitude Era, but, yeah. You want to go watch something good, go watch
by
New
the same
Japan.
token, by the same token, there's also multiple reasons, that being one of them, why I haven't recorded with Casual Heroes in a while.
Well, go watch New Japan. Their newest pay-per-view comes out August 12th. It's called Kings of Pro Wrestling, and it features commentary by Matt Stryker and Kevin Kelly. Is it Kevin Kelly? Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, the guy who does Ring of Honor / guy from Raw in 1997. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great event. AJ Styles versus Kazuchika Okada. Yay. All right.
Sweet.
Jesse, go.
Well, okay, before we get into plugs, I just want to tell you, Robert Cooper and Mark Radulich, thank you very much for having me on here. I had a blast, a lot of fun. Robert, you have to, after we get off of here, you have to immediately tell me what you think of the Gamera trailer. If you've had the chance to watch it, you need to let me know what you think of it. Okay? All right, you need to watch it. Now, as for my plugs, you can find me on Twitter at StizNarkey. You can find my show, Source Material, which is on Mondays here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. You can find it on Twitter also at SourceMattCast. If you have Periscope, I do a lot of fun stuff with Periscope, dealing with comics on there. Do like a random comic review every once in a while. Last night I just said, fuck it, and we looked over a popular science magazine that was 80 years old from 1935. A lot of fun.
Well, that sounds fun.
It was actually pretty neat. There was a lot of old shit, man. I mean, it was funny because it was October of 1935. So it was exactly 80 years old, which was really cool. I picked it up at an auction. But source material, last source material I did was we did the first 7 issues of The Long Halloween, Batman The Long Halloween. It was a long podcast because it definitely felt like The Long Halloween doing that thing. But I had some great people there with me, and that was Benjamin J. Colon. And Sean Comer made his first appearance on the show, and that was awesome. Second part's coming up this coming Monday, so if you guys are into checking it out, we spoiled the shit out of it, but, check it out. It's a lot of fun. From the cheap seats, me and Jason Teasley, when Teasley can stay awake, he is on there, and we're talking NFL football. The season has arrived. We're going into week 5, so we'll be talking that this next Tuesday, so check us out there. Also, upcoming on Saturday, I had the opportunity to sit down with Ronnie Adams of Screaming Boy and Jason Teasley, and we talk slasher flicks. I don't watch a whole lot of those, so I didn't have a whole lot to contribute, but we had a lot of fun going through Wikipedia and just picking out random shit and seeing if Teasley could guess what the premise was. So it was a lot of fun. Check it out. That should be uploaded this Saturday, so we had a good time. Other than that, that's it for me.
My favorite slasher flick of the past few years was Jurassic World.
All right.
All right, folks. This has been yet another edition of the Metal Hammer of Doom. I want to thank Jesse Starcher for coming on with us and lending us his life. As always, thank you to Robert Cooper for hanging out with me tonight. Looking forward to being on another episode of Source Material, talking Scrooge McDuck and Batman and Son, seeing as those are the last 2 things that I read and gave a shit about. So you have to schedule me in there, Mr. Starcher. So for the aforementioned Mr. Starcher and Mr. Cooper, I am the mandated reporter, Mr. Mark Radulich, and frankly, I am mortified. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the Frost on Fox. Be well, be safe, and behave.
Hey there, it's your friend Ryan Reed with Read and Read. I'll get you right back to your favorite podcast, but quickly, I want you to know if you're injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or through medical malpractice, you can count on Read and Read to be here when you call. You'll speak to me, my wife, or my dad directly on the phone, or you can meet us in person or on Zoom for a free consultation. Visit needread.com today for more information. And remember, with Read and Read, it's like having a lawyer in the family. Needread.com. Offices, Tampa Bay.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.